Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. Today, we're going to talk all about metabolic health. So, the women out there, I want you to feel seen, heard, and if you're struggling with your metabolism or weight loss, I have an expert here with us today, and we're going to dive deep into how we can move the needle on weight loss, have metabolic health, and feel great later in life. So please join me in welcoming Ashley Fillmore. She is the leading expert in sustainable weight loss. She helps women heal their metabolism, balance their hormones, and achieve body composition changes that last a lifetime. Ashley has a bachelor's in science degree in exercise and nutrition, and she's a certified personal trainer, professional nutrition coach, and health educator with nearly 20 years of experience. Ashley has her own podcast called Cheers to Your Success and is the founder and president of Metabolic Fix, a premium online coaching company that has helped thousands of women finally break free from chronic dieting and achieve long-term lasting results using the Metabolic Fix method. She is deeply committed to helping women better their lives and strives to inspire others embrace the life of health, happiness, and self-love they deserve. Ooh, I just love that. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to connect with you and your audience today.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording, just, when you get to over 40, sometimes over 35, it's weight gain and weight loss become a different challenge than what maybe we were used to or the strategies that used to be effective, especially as we go through hormone fluctuations and hormone changes. So to kick us off, I think we should talk about why women struggle differently or why the struggle feels so different and the modalities to get the weight off are different above 35 or 40 years of age.
Yeah, so much starts to shift. And I think so much of it is behind the scenes. So as we're living our life and maybe we're raising our kids and working up the corporate ladder or building our businesses, externally, we're not really focused on what's happening because maybe we don't really notice signs necessarily of aging when we're in our mid 30s, or we're not really feeling it as much, or it's not top of mind. But internally, so much is starting to happen around the age of 35. And this is when our hormones start to shift. And depending on if you've been dieting off and on your whole life at this point, maybe you started dieting in college or high school, you spent your 20s dieting, maybe even into your 30s, that can take a toll on your metabolic health. So you're having these hormonal shifts, your metabolism is shifting, you're going to be potentially losing muscle mass unless you're proactively doing things to sustain and build muscle mass in your 30s. And so the lay of the land just starts to look a lot different. And I do think it's a big shock because, again, externally, you're just living your life and, maybe things seem to be pretty normal, but when you pause, you realize that things really aren't normal anymore. Your body's not responding the same. Maybe you're trying to do the same diet that you did when you were in your early 30s or late 20s or prep for your wedding or whatever it may be, and you're just not seeing the result. And actually, a lot of the women I work with, not only are they not seeing the results, they could be even gaining more weight by doing those things that used to work for them, which is terrifying if you've been in that situation. So not only is it not working, you're actually regressing even more. And so a lot can start to shift in your body. Once you know how to take control of that, you understand what's going on, you are empowered then to make better decisions, as I like to call them, informed decisions with your health to get on the right track. And I will say that I have women in their 40s and their 50s, and even women beyond that that's been through perimenopause and now are beyond menopause, so postmenopausal, that are thriving and feeling better than they did in their 20s, 30s, or maybe even for some 40s, but a lot has to shift. What used to work typically doesn't. It's time for us to shift gears and focus more on strategy and science and customization to truly get the needle moving in a sustainable and healthy way.
I love how you pointed that out. And I've heard that from other experts like yourself that have been on the podcast. And it's been my own personal journey as well is, weight loss doesn't happen the way it happened in our 20s and 30s. It does change. And I agree with you 100%. There is science out there, which is great. And it needs to be a customizable approach. So before we go into your metabolic fix method, which I do want to cover, I want to talk about other kinds of old mentalities that we may still have from our 20s and our 30s. I know some of those things, like just skip a few meals. What else are things I did? Just increase my exercise. Maybe instead of working out once a day, now it's twice a day. Or, like I said, cutting calories or missing meals or eating a lot less or exercising a lot more. Like that was the diet mentality at the time. That was actually very effective for me in my 20s and 30s, and it did work. But I find that when I do that stuff now, or when I'm coaching women, I'm sure when you're coaching women, those strategies are no longer helpful and effective. And it's weird how our brain almost wants to keep going back to them, right? And I hear that a lot from the women I coach, and I'm sure you do too. So can you elaborate on what other mentalities or what you're seeing about this diet culture and how that keeps us from making progress and getting results?
Yeah. So there's so many things I would love to share about this, but I don't want to go too far because I could take up a whole podcast talking about these things. But I do want to hit on a couple of things, and you actually mentioned some of them. So let's just go right into the eat less to lose fat mentality. So there's a lot of diets out there that are still preaching this. And quite honestly, if you were to go into MyFitnessPal right now, which is a free calorie and macro tracking app, it's widely used by millions of people, and you were to put in your height, your weight, your activity, and that you wanted to lose, let's say 1 to 2 to 3 pounds per week, there's a really high chance it's going to put you in a very extreme caloric deficit, potentially even at your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, or below it. And so right there is a part of the problem. And a lot of these diets we're seeing out here is essentially replicating that in their own version of starvation, in my opinion. And so the old theory is, yes, you need to eat less to lose weight. And so if you continue to eat less and less and less, you're going to lose weight. Well, yes, to lose body fat, you do need to be in a caloric deficit. But we have taken it way too far as a culture. So instead of doing conservative caloric deficits, instead of looking at the individual's diet first before we start slashing calories, cleaning up the diet, adding in more nutrient dense whole foods, working on meal timing to stabilize blood sugar, taking a look at where their protein, fats, and carbs are coming from, we're immediately going to just slashing calories. So first and foremost, I like to say, let's look at what you're consuming first. Let's assess how much you're eating. Let's look at how much you're consuming. And then after we get that work done, we can talk about a fat loss deficit for you. But a lot of women just wake up and they're like, okay, I want to lose weight today, so I'm just going to eat 1,200 calories. And then they start eating 1,200 calories per day. They maybe lose a little bit of weight at first, but then they start to plateau. They're not able to lose more, or they start to gain it back. So as you are restricting more and more and more, and especially if you're being super aggressive about it, your metabolism, your body is going to pick up on the fact that you're not taking in enough fuel to sustain. And that is when your metabolism will start to downregulate and conserve more energy. This is not what you want to happen. So I always tell my clients, you want your fat loss journey to be under the radar. You don't want your body to feel so depleted that it's going to notice that and start to conserve or even downregulate because you're not fueling yourself enough. So the whole eat less to lose more is actually not the best way to sustainably reach your goals. Even if you lose weight, there's a higher chance now through all the research that they're doing that you're going to lose more muscle compared to fat, which is not great. That's going to lower your metabolic rate more long term, and you're still not going to be happy with your body composition. When we look in the mirror, I've never heard a woman say, oh, I hate my muscle mass, I want it to go. Most of the time, it's the subcutaneous body fat, right, that we're seeing that's impacting the way our clothes are fitting. That's what we want to go. So if you're losing muscle instead of fat, you're still not happy with the way your body looks. And then it's going to take a toll on you, metabolically speaking, hormonally. Your energy may start to decrease. Your body's going to pick up on the fact that you're not fueling yourself enough, and you're going to potentially start having cravings. And, you just think of this domino effect of cravings, low energy. Your body's conserving energy instead of burning it. So you're going to be more in fat storage mode versus fat burning. You're going to prime your body for more muscle loss versus fat loss. That is not a healthy and happy version of yourself. So we got to do away with that. So if you're thinking, eat less, I need to cut more, I would say let's pause. Let's do some investigating. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what you're eating, when you're eating, how much you're eating, what's your lifestyle, exercise. There's so many things we need to investigate. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to take up too much time, is still this theory. I see women coming in saying, I need to do high intensity interval training all the time to lose body fat. Research shows that HIIT training is by far the most effective way to burn body fat. And I'm actually going to argue that for that woman that is midlife and perimenopause. Now, from the research I'm doing, and I do a lot of research every week, weight training is the most important thing you can do to rev up your metabolism, build muscle mass. Now, your metabolism is revving into high gear from you actually building muscle mass. Muscle tissue is very metabolically active tissue. So you want to build and sustain as much as you can as you get older. So muscle mass and strength training is key. And then I'm going to argue walking is huge. The average American's getting a couple thousand steps in these days. I have women coming into my program that's only getting 2,000 steps per day. And not only is that bad for our overall health, it's bad for our mental health. And yes, it's also bad for our body composition goals. So getting people moving. And then when we start to look at the data, too much HIIT, high intensity interval training, where you're training in a zone 4, zone 5, is actually really bad for your body. And it's going to put your body in more of a catabolic state. It's going to put a lot more stress on your body. It's going to lower your ability to recover. It's going to increase your inflammation. And if you're also starving yourself, you're skipping meals, as you mentioned, you're cutting your carbs, you're doing all of this other exercise, you're burning the candle at both ends, you can start to lose muscle mass. So I like to say to that woman that thinks, hey, I need to do everything and I need to do HIIT, Orange Theory, the harder the better. If I'm not laying in a puddle of sweat, it's not working. I would like to argue and say, actually, I think you need to be a little bit more smarter with what you're doing, prioritize strength training. You can do it at home or in the gym, prioritize walking. And then if you're metabolically and hormonally healthy enough, which we will notice that through my program, then I am big on looking at zone 2 cardio, very prescriptive with that. I ensure that the client is in zone 2. We're not just using guesstimates, and we'll start using that in a prescriptive way because we know that that can help lower inflammation. That is going to help with fat oxidation. It's not going to put stress on your adrenal glands and your sex hormones. But the one key thing I said is if you are metabolically and hormonally healthy. If you're not, then I would actually say, skip the HIIT training, skip the zone 2 for now, focus on walking and strength training. And then HIIT a little bit, very little, maybe a couple sessions a month. Usually my women are doing anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes.
That's so helpful. I don't think unless you're in this space, studying the literature, working with people, understanding all the stresses that women do put on their bodies to try to lose weight. It's almost like they're trying to effort so hard to lose the weight. And I don't think they realize the consequences, like you said, metabolically and hormonally, how all of that adds up. I'll work with some people who think they're trying to biohack their way. They're doing infrared saunas or any kind of saunas, and then they're skipping meals, and then they're fasting, and then they're doing the HIIT or the Orange Theory. And all of that, like you said, when we look at their labs, they are not metabolically healthy nor hormonally balanced. And all that cortisol and all that stress. And of course, that's going to lead to weight loss plateaus and even potentially weight gains, which is so frustrating because you say, I'm doing all the things and nothing is moving the needle. And I get that. But I think it's really, like you're saying, is like coming back and listening to the body. Like, where are we at metabolically? Let's look at that. Because that, if you're not paying attention to that in the hormone balance, we're not really understanding how to calibrate the body. If it's still out of whack and we're just adding on more things and it's getting more out of whack, I think that's really important for the listener today to really hear that message. Because we want to think, oh, I have to do more, I have to do more. And that could be actually worsening the problem. So I love how you expounded upon that. Thank you. Now let's move into your metabolic fix framework. Walk us through, I think there's 3 phases, if I'm not mistaken, through the framework, and walk us through that and what you're finding is so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. So before I dive into the 3 phases of transformation, I want to also say that when I started off my career, I ended up falling into the dieting trap. It wasn't really talked about publicly back in my corporate job before I started my own company. And I very much so struggled very silently. And so the mindset of a dieter, I used to be that person. So I understand how it feels to be trapped and not know how to move forward. And yes, with our culture, even more so now because there wasn't Instagram and TikTok and all the podcasting, we are taught to eat less, to move more. So if you are trapped in that mindset, I get it. Even with my education, I knew better, but still got very much so trapped into striving to be smaller, striving to lose more body fat. And it was a very destructive and unhealthy phase of life for me. And so a part of the work that I do now is truly meeting every single client where they are. Because I know for myself, although I was in my early 20s, I had a hormone profile of a perimenopausal woman. I wasn't having cycles when I went to a functional doctor. It was pretty devastating to look at my charts. And I also felt miserable. There's no way I could thrive and function in my life now as a mom of two running my company if I felt the way I did when I was younger. And so I'm very passionate about hitting weight loss, body composition change from a very healthy and holistic way. And I will say this before I dive into the 3 phases of transformation. Your journey is going to take longer than you think. And so I just want to say this because there's so much misinformation out there. All of these quick fixes are selling 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 21 days. And I have been doing this for, again, about 2 decades now. And I have never seen, never in my career, a full transformation from the start to finish. So from a client healing their metabolism, balancing their hormones, learning how to eat and train for their body, implementing healthy lifestyle habits, and also knowing how to maintain, which no one talks about the maintenance category, within a 21-day period, a 6-week period, an 8-week period, or a 12-week period. And so it takes a lot longer. So as you're going through this journey, I want for the listener to think about how long did it take for you to get to where you are today? It's maybe been years of dieting, years of mindset work you need to do, years of hormonal metabolic damage that you have to recover. It's not instant gratification. So I just want to say that because it took me years to heal my body. I did not wake up where I am today. I had to spend years repairing my metabolism, working on my hormones, getting labs ran, customizing my plan. And so as I was personally going through this, I was working with midlife women, and I was noticing early in my career that no 2 women were responding the same way. So yes, I would have 2 women, 40 years old, come in, give them similar protocols, or my boss would give me a protocol to implement with them, and the results would look different for each client. So I started to take notes and just realize, okay, client A is doing this, client B is doing this. They're the same age. You would expect almost the same exact outcome, but client B was getting a different result than client A. And so when I started to look into this and I noticed that trend over the course of my career and even with myself, I realized how important it is to have customization for every single client, regardless of your age, gender, race. Your body's different. Your body's different than your sister's or your mother's body. Meeting the client where they are and then adapting and customizing a protocol to not only help them reach their goals, but sustain it. So I did this with myself. And this is when the 3 phases of transformation came to life. So when a woman comes into my program, number one, we're going to assess where you are. We want to take a look at your health history. If you have labs, we want to take a look at your labs. We want to take a look at your dieting history, obviously your body composition, measurements, weight, progress photos. Look at everything. All of your food logs are imported. So we take a look at all of the data regarding your nutrition, your exercise, your health history. And then from there, we are able to determine where you need to start. This is where the customization starts. So here at Metabolic Fix, we have 3 phases of transformation: the repair phase, the rebuild phase, and the results phase. 90% of women think that they're ready to start the results phase, and none of them are. And so this is, again, the media is selling that we are all metabolically and hormonally healthy and prepared for a fat loss phase, and we're not. And so that's why your body's not responding. If you're continuing to sign up for diet after diet, and you're fasting and you're doing keto and you're doing this deficit and you're carb cycling and you're doing these different workouts, if your body's not responding, you're not ready for a fat loss phase yet. We have work we need to do. So we will assess the client based off of everything I mentioned. We're going to determine what phase they need to start in. Every client will start off in the repair or the rebuild phase. In the repair phase, we're focusing on metabolic repair. So if you're chronically dieting and we can confirm that with accuracy, we will work on ensuring that you're eating sufficient calories. There's a lot of education, so you're going to understand what you should be eating per day. You're going to understand why you should be eating this much, and we're going to help you do that, but we're going to teach you how to do it in a healthy way. This probably won't shock you, but many of the women come into my world, even with doing 5 to 10 diets before coming into my program, they do not know how to build a healthy plate. What they thought was healthy or high protein or good for them is not. It's actually a part of why their body's not responding. And so there's a lot of educating and helping them unlearn, I should say, misinformation about how to eat and how to train for a midlife woman, which is also going to look different from when you were a 20-year-old or early 30-year-old. We also are going to address any hormonal issues here. But instead of just assuming, this is where I like to have data. I like to look at Dutch testing, or I like for my client to have a doctor that they are consulting with as well as working with me that can go into their hormonal status. Where are their sex hormones? Is there a cortisol issues, thyroid health, insulin, A1C? Just want to see where they are. If we need to do some work there, I will customize everything around whatever their specific condition or concerns may be. And we're building that foundation. It is, educating them on proper strength training. It is just building that foundation. So let's say you're lucky, in my opinion, and you come in, you're eating enough, you're not starving yourself, you don't really have any hormonal imbalances or concerns, but you want to learn how to do things in a healthy and sustainable way. You're afraid. You're actually afraid of the diets. You don't want to crash diet. Maybe you did it before. Maybe you saw family members go through this before, friends, and you want to change the way that you approach your goals. If you are eating enough and you're eating well, maybe someone like yourself, you would start off in the rebuild phase. That gives me or my assistant coaches 4 to 6 weeks to fine tune everything. I'm never going to just assume you're doing things right, because if women are coming into my program, they're coming here for a reason. So even if they think that they're doing right, we're going to assess everything. We're going to ensure that your meals are dialed in. We're going to make sure they're balanced appropriately for your body and biofeedback. We're going to make sure your workouts are dialed in. We're going to customize everything from nutrition protocols to workouts. We're going to do some fine tuning. And then the final phase is the results phase. This is where you go into a strategic caloric deficit if you have a weight loss, fat loss goal. If you have a body comp goal, so maybe you don't want to lose weight, you just want to build muscle mass. You just want to maybe be more defined. We're going to work on we're going to have your nutrition support that goal. Now, deficit, maybe not at all if you just want to do some body recomp or very little. And then a part of the results phase is maintenance. And that is where we teach the individual how to sustain the results that they got. Most women believe that they should stay in that fat loss deficit year round to sustain their results. And that is misinformation. You should never be in a fat loss deficit year round. It is a temporary stage for you to be in to reach your goal. But when you get there, it's essential for you to transition into maintenance. And that is where you live. And once a client's done that, they've completed the 3 phases of transformation.
Thank you for explaining that. I talk about all the time on my podcast, there is a different process you follow when you're losing weight versus when you are maintaining weight. And the science is very clear on that. There's many podcasters talking about that. And so thank you for breaking down the different phases, because I think we just think weight loss is just weight loss, and there's just like one part to it. And it couldn't be further from the truth. There are different parts to the process. And I like how you have the 3 different phases, because some people do come in and you look at their lab work and you're like, wow, we need to start here before we even address other things. So I love how you incorporate the labs. I think that's so important. I can't tell you how many women I talk to about their lab work, and they have no idea. Nobody sat down with them from the physician standpoint about how this paints a profile of like diabetes is coming, heart disease, here's your risks. And so I think really providing that education is key. And I love when there's coaches out there giving clients that education, because it is so powerful for their bodies so they can customize how they are going to take care of their health and their wellness. Now, speaking of that, I have two follow-up questions. And one is, as you're going through those phases, I know we like quick results because we are sold those quick results, as you mentioned, the 21 days, the 75 hard, whatever it is, even that's a quick result. What do you find is a typical timeline that women will get to their goal or get to their weight loss goal?
Right. So if a woman starts my program in the repair phase, it's typically going to take 12 months. Woman starts my program in the rebuild phase, typically it's going to take a 6-month period.
Yes.
Give or take, depending on the individual. We've had outliers where it takes longer, and that individual potentially has a thyroid disorder. They are going through perimenopause. They're trying to get their HRT, so hormone replacement therapy, dialed in while simultaneously working with me. They've dieted off and on. They've lost and gained the same 10, 20 plus pounds over and over. Their mindset's not in a good place. They're trying to rebuild their life and their lifestyle habits to support this healthier version of themselves that they want to become. And so that all of those factors impact your length of time it's going to take for you to get to where you want to be. Now, if you come in and you're in a much better place, yeah, and you don't have to worry about healing your metabolism when there's really no hormonal issues, it's going to be a shorter length of time. But you don't want to rush it and you don't want to skip it. And honestly, I think if you're hearing this now, instead of feeling discouraged, feel empowered and maybe feel like, wow, this is why I haven't been responding. It's not me. It's not that something's wrong with me or I'm not good enough or disciplined or not enough or have enough willpower. It's the fact that my hormones and my metabolism isn't even in a stable enough place for me to be pursuing this goal. So if I go back and do this the right way, start at square one and work my way through, then I'm going to see lasting and sustainable results and my body will respond.
Yeah. And that's what we want, lasting, sustainable
Exactly.
results. We don't want to be yo-yoing. And many of us have been on that train, and it's defeating to put in all that effort, all that work, get to the goal for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and then boom, it's backwards and feeling defeated from that way. When you're talking about making these changes, how realistic or how much time does it take? I'm thinking about the busy woman who's got the family and got the career, and how much time is involved and in making these changes.
So as in like exercising, eating.
Yeah, like all these, you're changing their nutrition, their exercise, and customizing that. I think as women might be hearing this, they might be thinking, wow, that's a lot to take on, or I don't have enough time in my day to pay attention to all that.
Yeah. So for that woman that's really busy in a season of life, kind of similar to mine, where you're raising your kids and you're doing all the things and, you're feeling stretched thin, your time is your most valuable asset. And so if you're struggling with your body composition today, I would highly recommend that you look into having a coach and an expert guide you through, because the number one thing my clients say, which they are all very busy women raising their families, trying to be their household manager, working full time, trying to sustain a healthy marriage and relationship with their partner, being active in their community, church, wanting to be a great friend. We're wearing so many hats. Our time is so limited and valuable. So having an expert guide you. My clients will always tell me that once they join my program, it takes away all the guesswork. It takes away all of the should I or shouldn't I be doing this, or what workouts should I do, or I'm just going to teeter on the side of doing more because there's no way doing less is better. They come in and they feel like they suddenly get so much of their time and energy back. And so if you're struggling with time management or you're feeling overwhelmed, I would actually go to say that you're probably doing this on your own, or you're trying to piece things together from different experts. And there's no judgment on that. In today's times, it's very easy to listen to podcasts, to look at social media, but you're trying to piece things together. And it's just feeling a bit overwhelming because none of it's really custom for you specifically. Even with this great podcast episode, if I know the individual, I am able to tailor things to them. And so my last comment to this is it's actually really manageable, because when your program is customized, and this is the difference between mass-produced programs designed for all versus one program designed for you. It meets you where you are. So I have some women that are doing 3 20-minute workouts every week because that's all they can do. On the other side, I have some clients that, works just a couple days a week. stay-at-home mom for the rest of the time, and they can work out 3 to 4 days per week, 45 minutes. So the programming is tailored to meet them where they are. There is no one-size-fits-all prescription, which leads to overwhelm. Because if you are that busy mom that doesn't have 45 minutes or an hour to work out 3, 4, 5, 6 days per week, it's very overwhelming. With your meals, they're also very much so built around your budget and your lifestyle. So maybe you don't have 30 minutes or 60 minutes every night to make dinner. We'll talk about what can you do on the weekends. We'll talk about how to optimize little pockets of time. We'll look at your budget and see if maybe there's some great healthy go-tos that we can team up together in restaurants and find some options for you that work well. We'll figure out solutions together that work for you. But does it take time? Yes. And I also do want to say that even when your program's customized, you are going to have to find time, but it's in a more doable way because everything is going to meet you, your nutrition, your lifestyle goals, your workouts. It's all going to meet you where you are. So you shouldn't feel overwhelmed. And if you start to feel overwhelmed, you speak up and say, hey, this is feeling a little bit too much right now. Work is really hectic. The kids have extracurriculars. I just can't manage this. We go to plan B. Always have a plan B in your back pocket because I can guarantee that there's going to be a season where you feel overwhelmed, even if it's sustainable. So initially with every client, we have plan A and we always have plan B.
That's beautiful and very powerful, right? Because a lot of times if we don't think we're doing the plan A, we're not doing it 100%. A lot of times that all or nothing mentality comes to bite us and then we wind up doing nothing. So I love that you have a plan B for those times when it's too much to do the plan A. And there's no shame in that. Life is life and we do wear multiple hats and we have to give ourselves grace and know that even doing plan B will get us to our result.
Yes, exactly. Slow and steady always wins.
Yeah.
You may feel like people are passing you if you want to just even envision a marathon or a race. People may be passing you, but chances are that person that's sprinting beside you, you're going to see them on mile 10, probably really exhausted and burnt out. And so as long as you can implement slow and steady habit change that supports your body in a customized way, because again, time is your most valuable asset. You have no energy to waste on doing things that aren't serving you. Everything you're doing right now, as the listeners are listening in, every single thing you're doing with your nutrition, with your workouts, or the supplements you're taking, which we haven't even had a chance to talk about that, it should be there for a reason. If you don't know its purpose, why you're doing it, exactly what you're getting out of it, I would recommend not doing it.
Mm.
There's so much power in that because how many times I see women come in, they're taking tons of supplements that they've seen influencers or people talk about online. They don't even know if they need them, but they're taking them because it sounds like it's what they need. So they're doing that. But then I'll say, why are you taking this? I have no idea. I hear this all the time. I have no idea. I saw so-and-so talk about this on Peter Attia's podcast. So I just decided that I was going to start taking it because I needed it. And we'll go through this list. Well, what workouts are you doing? As they come in, we customize everything. Well, I was doing this workout because I thought that's what I needed to be doing just from what I heard or saw online. Why are you eating this way? Oh, well, I'm eating this way because I did this when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and it used to help me lose weight. None of that are great answers on why are you doing this right now? Explain why. How is this serving you in this season? What's the benefit? And how are you measuring if you're making progress with this or not?
Yes. Yes. That's a key component, right? Are these things really working or giving you the benefit that they were told they would give you?
Yes. And
Yeah.
being monitored, probably similar with your patients, you're being very prescriptive about what you're suggesting.
As a pharmacist, we read prescriptions all the time. Absolutely. Very prescriptive. That's just the way my mind works. And it is individualized. Yes, for
Yes.
sure. Yes. Not everybody needs a statin. Not everybody needs aspirin. I've learned this from my training. Not everybody needs all the things, right? You have to customize it to how their body responds, how it handles, if they have contraindications, if they have side effects. There's just so much about tailoring what you put inside your body.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Yes. Well, Ashley, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your expertise, your wisdom, and lifting us women up who are in the perimenopause and their later 40s, 50s, so we can be healthy and well and live in a metabolically healthy body. If my listeners want to learn more about you or work with you, please tell us how they can work with you and find you.
Yeah, so I'm always hanging out on Instagram. That is my preferred social media platform. So you can find me there. It's Ashley_Fillmore, Fillmore1. You can also find me at my website, metabolicfix.com. I do offer customized one-on-one coaching for various durations, depending on the client and what they need, very similar to what we talked about today. I also have a great 7-day reset if someone's wanting to just get started, learn more about Metabolic Fix, learn more about hormones, metabolism, the nutrition component, exercise. My reset really does go through that. It's not a quick fix. It's not a crash diet. It's just giving you tools that you need to start your journey on the right track. And I also have a podcast, Cheers to Your Success. I'm releasing episodes every single week, and you're actually going to be a guest on my show. So,
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that, Ashley.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And listener, we will put all the links to where to find Ashley and how to work with her in the show notes. So you can quickly click on those. They're also on my YouTube channel. So thank you for tuning in this week, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. If you're ready to take the next step to improve your health, wellness, and lifestyle goals, head over to www.epicu.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Again, that's EPICYOU.com. Please note that the information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice.